Hi, my name is Keisha from CoconutRobot.com, and I have another Scan and Cut tutorial and project for you guys today. Today's project involves the new vinyl that's available with your Brother ScanNCut for purchase. So I've just created these fun tote bags, and we're going to walk through just my tips and tricks for cutting out vinyl, layering the vinyl, making sure everything is lined up correctly. This fun ice cream one with the glitter. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I created these, and then also using that link below, I have all of these patterns available for you to download. So you can just go ahead and download them and import them into your ScanNCut and take it from there. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to pull up the pattern that I created using ScanNCut Canvas. I've saved it on my USB stick. And I've broken apart and labeled each of the pieces that I'll be cutting out of the various colors of vinyl. But right now I want to pull up the entire image just so I can get a placement on my bag for where I want everything to go. Go ahead and load my low-tack mat with my cardstock and do a background scan. And my paper is a little bit too small, but that's okay. I just again want to get placement, and because I'll be cutting out of vinyl that entire little fish phrase, as long as I can match up those rightmost letters in the word fish, I know that my L and I will go ahead and match up as well, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this out onto my cardstock. What I want to do is actually cut out a quick template that I've cut out some of the shapes that I can then use a fabric pen to trace some of those images onto my tote bag, so I know exactly where I need to iron my vinyl onto my bag so everything lines up perfectly. And place it just to protect my mat. So now we're ready to go ahead and cut out a few portions of the shape just so we can make those markings on our tote bag with a fabric pen. So now that I have removed a few of the tiny pieces and I've left just enough to kind of leave a template for me to trace the pattern onto my tote just for placement, I'm going to go ahead and put in my standard blade. I have it at about a depth of 3. I'm going to check my pressure here and change that back to 0 for cardstock. And now we're going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so now that I've cut out my template here just to make some markings on my tote, I'm just going to remove this negative space because this is what I want to use to mark on my tote bag the placement of my vinyl. So now that I've placed my template where I want it on my tote bag, I'm just going to lightly tape these down just so I can see exactly, make sure it stays in place. And using an iron away fabric pen, I'm going to just make some small markings around the perimeter of my shapes. That way now when I'm ironing on my layers, I can see exactly where these pieces need to go and everything will line up perfectly. And now that I have those markings in place, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my vinyl to iron onto my tote. So when we're ready to cut out all of our vinyl pieces, you'll see that in the pattern, the zip file that you download, I have broken apart every single grouping that I made the same color. You can go ahead and break these up even more if you'd like, but there's two things that you really need to make sure that you don't forget. So the first part that we're going to do is the head of the fish that we're doing in the pink glitter. I'm going to go ahead and retrieve that, and immediately I want to group every single object for this fish because we don't want to resize anything and we don't want to move anything because they're all in place according to how they're going to lay out on my tote bag. The other thing we need to make sure we remember is that we mirror the image because we're going to be ironing this on. So immediately we're going to go ahead and mirror that. And now that it's grouped, I can go ahead and move that onto whatever place I've put my vinyl. So I'm going to go ahead and background scan and cut out each of my vinyl pieces, and then we'll go ahead and iron them on. Now remember, when we're cutting out our vinyl, we don't want to cut through the thick plastic backing that you'll be putting onto the sticky part of your mat. That is what you want to keep in place. That's basically your template. It acts as your contact paper that you would use for regular vinyl, maybe to put on a wall or to adhere to a container or something like that. That thick plastic is going to hold all of the layout of your fish, in this case, together, so that way we don't have to individually place each of those pieces onto our tote bag. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my glitter with a setting of 2 and a pressure of 0. So I've run my tests to make sure I'm cutting through only my iron-on vinyl and not the thick plastic contact paper that you see on the back. And I've weeded out all the negative space, so now I'm ready to just layer everything on. You don't want to use an ironing board because we don't want padding. We want to have resistance when we're ironing this down. I just use my wood sewing table here. Sometimes if you want, you can put a towel underneath it. I'm just going to just use the tote bag here directly on here. So first I'm going to go ahead and line up using my iron away guides. You can see this is why we don't cut through that thick plastic backing, because that gives us the spacing that we need to lay it down.